And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Pug Thompson. 100% agree. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Well, hello to everyone. Another edition of the greatest podcast covering MMA in the world with Josh Thompson and myself, Big John McCarthy, Podcast Dave, the man on the controls. This is the next version of Weighing In. Yes, we are coming to you a day late. That's because sometimes families count and we have to make exceptions for people. So we made exceptions and family comes first. So sorry if it upsets you, but that's what we had to do. You can catch us on Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Look for us on YouTube. Hit the subscribe, give us the thumbs up, Spotify, Stitcher, and as I always say, that plethora of other platforms, podcasting platforms out there you can catch us on. If you want to be part of the Weighing In team, go to ProWrestlingTees.com. Punch in Weighing In. Look at the picture. Hit it. I know it's good looking, but hit it. It'll come up with a bunch of different shirts that we have for our podcast so you can show your support to, again, what I'm calling the greatest MMA podcast there is out today. What's up, Joshua?
What's up, buddy, man? I want everyone to understand the reason why we're a day late. It was my fault. So it was my fault. We just had some stuff that came up and had to be gone for a day or two. And we're back. That's all that matters. We're back. And we have a lot to talk about. And I'm freaking amped, man. I'm so excited. I got to read other people's comments, and I got people tweeting us saying, where you guys at? What you guys been doing? They're all mad at us because we were a day late.
Pissed off.
But hey, guess what? This thing will drop first thing in the morning. By the time you guys get up and you're, took a shower, brush your teeth, comb your hair, do all the things you got to do, and you'll be ready to go. Listen to it on the car ride to work.
There you go.
Okay. I'm gonna do it. Let's do it.
You start.
I'm gonna do it only because I think you and I have had this conversation already just a couple moments ago. You guys want to fight? You guys want to be fucking some of the best in the world? You guys got to perform. It doesn't matter the circumstances. And I understand fighting with no crowd sucks sometimes, or would suck, period. But you got to perform. And they just didn't. And I want to knock. A couple of them did. Aiden Lee.
Alfie Davis, Wanless.
Akon Wanless. I said it before last week when I said, these are guys you should watch out for.
Losing effort.
Yes, he did. Yes, I thought he fought a phenomenal fight. He's a stud. He's going to need a little bit more progress, but I still think he's got the potential. Aiden Lee, phenomenal, man. And
he looked good.
I thought that as well. But with a guy like Aiden Lee, he needs to put on, in terms of he needs to have a little bit more of the killer instinct. He had moments where he could have went after a little bit harder, and he didn't. He was having fun. You could see he was really flowing with all hands.
Especially as that second round started.
Oh, yeah.
You could see the comfort level set in.
Yeah.
He looked good.
When I saw him fight, I called one of his first fights in Newcastle against Saul Rogers. And man, I realized then how hard and difficult he was to take down, how active he was from his back, how good he was on the feet. He was a fun fighter to watch. And I kind of thought that he would progress even more. We just haven't been able to use him as much as we could, but he's got a bright future, I think. And as far as the rest of the ones that were on the card, you guys got to come to fight, man. And I know most people always say, you guys are just Bellator nut huggers. You guys work for them. Guess what? I'm going to call it like it is. I had talked about that fight, the Fabian Edwards fight and Vancina's fight for months. For months, I've been talking about how good it was going to be. It just didn't live up to the expectation. Now, I can also say this. Anytime, let's talk about all past fights where they actually legitimately hate each other, the fights never really live up to that. And they legitimately hate each other. You go back to say, what was it? Rashad and John Jones and a couple other fighters that legitimately hated people. And the fights just were blah. They're flops. They're afraid to pull the trigger because they don't want to get hurt. They don't want to get knocked out. They don't want to lose to that person. It ends up being that way. So in theory, it always sounds great, like it's going to work out perfectly. And on paper, it was shaped up to be a great fight, but it just didn't live up to it. I was upset about the whole thing because as I'm watching, I'm going, God, pull the trigger. Like the first round was boring. They were filling each other out.
The first round was so bad, dude.
Vancina's had a good second round, and the third round, Fabian had a great third round.
Third round by one fighter in each.
Outside of the rest of the card, I was like,
But those are the fights, and you can be upset if you're Fabian Edwards because your undefeated record went away.
Mm-hmm.
Those are, you created that with that first round.
Mhm.
You're giving someone the opportunity to decide you didn't win that round based upon you didn't do that much. You've got to always think about, I've got to do enough to make someone realize that I'm the one in control of this fight.
Yeah.
He didn't do it. Same thing with Van Steenis, the second round, he just obliterated him. It was a great round for Van Steenis. And then he comes out in the third round and Edwards switches it around, and great round for Edwards. And man, I would have loved to have seen it go to a fourth round.
Yeah.
Maybe a fifth round, because maybe it would have been different. And maybe Fabian Edwards would have ended up taking that fight, because it looked like Van Steenis was, getting tired. And he said that he came into that with injuries and stuff, wasn't able to train the same. Put that in a 5-round fight. Different winner might have come out on top.
I've always, since they started the 5-round fights, I've been against them. But I've also made it clear that I kind of feel that there should be a 5-round fight, that these two, obviously being considered some of the best in Bellator, being the up-and-comers, they have the potential of making it to that next level, that this should have been a 5-round fight. And, Van Steenis has fought John Salter. Salter's fought for the title. He's already been in that area, whereas Fabian's getting there. And he should have, this I could have seen being a 5-round fight. But I'm saying if you're going to put people on as a main event, that we just, like with Bellator, they just don't have the roster. They have 200 fighters. They don't have, 500, 600 fighters like the UFC. Sometimes they even have more, depending on who they have and who I haven't cut yet, that type of thing. The list gets along. It's not the depth. So main eventing guys is a little bit harder, especially when you get into like the UK. It's harder to get guys to main event that can put on a good show. And so that being said, like you have guys like Paul Daley, he should be fighting 5 rounds. He's that guy. Like most of the time his fights don't go 5 rounds. They don't even go 3 rounds. So what's the point of not having him fight 5? And he's that guy that he's always 1 fight, maybe 2 fights away from a title shot. Usually just 1 good fight away from a title shot. And he always has great fights. Have him fight a 5-round fight. These guys here, both making their title run, they're ready to have 5-round fights. But all the other guys, like the ones that we saw, like if it was an Aiden, and as much as I like Aiden Lee, if it was an Aiden Lee, I'd say, okay, look, you're not there yet. Let's keep giving you 3 rounds, but have you main event so more people know you. Look, the diamond in the rough, though, is that Aiden Lee, Akon Wanless, Alfie Davis, even though to me I felt like it was definitely not the potential of Van Steenis and Fabian Edwards, I think it was a good learning experience for both of them to headline a card against each other, knowing that there was a grudge there. And they know if they ever did run it back, that they know what to expect from each other now. You could potentially get a way better fight, which you should have got the first fight. So
yeah, I just expect
exciting.
What I expect out of Fabian Edwards. Look, he's good.
Yeah.
He's got talent. Let it go.
Yeah.
Quit holding back. You got to pull the trigger on some of those, because he had openings and you could see that he saw him and then gave the little stutter and then held back. It's like, gotta let it go, man. If you don't throw it, it'll never land.
Yeah.
So, but let's get on to the pay-per-view of the UFC.
Let's go.
Because there was some really good fights in that. There's a couple guys in there who impressed you with the UFC's card. There was a couple of guys, man. There was a couple of guys I was really impressed with.
All right, let's see. So even though Zubai is like one of my teammates, trained with him for years,
not impressed.
I was not so much that I was not impressed. I just wasn't happy with the fact that he could have done a lot more to get it.
He's running in the end.
And here's the thing is I don't understand why. You're the better wrestler. You're the one that should be making people step away and run from you. And we saw his boxing's on point. He's got good hands. There was no reason for him to continue to like move and stay. He was out boxing how do I say his name? Dawodu. He was outboxing him. In moments, not all the time, but at moments he was outboxing, especially in the second round. He outboxed him. I thought he had some good runs, and in the first was very close. I think did one judge gave it 30-27 though to Dawodu?
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. I didn't see that at all.
And there was no way that you could give him the second round.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. But then the other thing too, there was one judge I believe had it 28-27. Was that the right?
Yeah, he gave. No, was that the fight that he did? It wasn't on that fight.
No, it wasn't on that fight. Huh? Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember hearing one of those. It was 28-27. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Where the hell did you get that?
On that one, the judge gave a 10-8, and I want to say that was Bellator. Gave a 10-8 round to Van Steenis in the second round.
That's right.
And gave a 10-8 round to Fabian Edwards in the third round. And so that you had that 28-27 score.
Interesting. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm getting them all.
Totally
confused.
different fight card.
Yeah, my bad. But yeah, so I wasn't Zuba. I think given the fact that this is kind of like their first run of guys fighting since Khabib's dad had passed, who's their head coach, and just not having him there, I think in the corner and being there, it was probably one of those. Just it's hard. I don't want to make an excuse for him, but I thought Daley looked good when he pulled the trigger. He was a little bit stuck in that not pulling the trigger. He was afraid to get taken down, and he talked about that. He wasn't getting off. So go back to the card, please. And then I thought, who else did I thought? There was a couple other guys on the card that I thought looked good. Dum, dum, dum.
Go down farther there, Dave.
Yeah.
Pull it up. I can't remember names.
Yeah,
or anything. There was so. Go to the earlier fights.
So
that's the beginning. Done.
Yeah, that's the beginning. So I thought Jake Matthews looked good when he pulled the trigger against Diego. He just didn't. I felt like he was afraid to get taken down, or he was afraid to get caught up in the exchanges and not letting Diego. You know how Diego just throws punches from weird angles. Everything uppercut, overhand left with a loopy right hand. So I thought I had seen him fight a couple times before, but I thought Jake Matthews looked good. I thought he commanded the whole cage. I thought he did a great job against a seasoned veteran. A lot of people are talking about Diego's, obviously older, shouldn't be fighting anymore, all these other things. But I thought Diego had some good transitions in that fight as well. Obviously, I mean, like, he's not making a title run. We all know that. But I thought Jake Matthews did a very good job at controlling exactly where the fight needed to be against someone like Diego.
Jake Matthews won every moment of that fight.
Yes.
Let's be honest. Diego was doing some mad rushes at him at times and everything, but it wasn't even close. And that's taking nothing away from Diego. I love him as a fighter. He's just not the same fighter anymore. And he's facing guys that technically are very good. They're younger, they're faster, and you could definitely see the speed difference between the two fighters.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, when it hits the ground, Diego's got, I don't want to say underrated, but seems like underrated ground game because he's good on the ground.
Yeah.
He's slick. He knows where to go. He understands, positioning, and he creates problems even if he's underneath. So I can understand where Jake was cautious with him.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, when he was opening up on him, he was landing some big shots.
Yeah.
So
I felt like at the end, was it the end of the first or the end of the second where Diego was hitting that leg lock? And I thought had he had another 10 seconds, he could have potentially finished that fight because Jake hit him with two shots. No. Jake hit him with two shots that I thought Diego was out. Like, his head bounced off the canvas.
So
I was like,
reversing
no.
Okay.
I said another 2 seconds, another 5 or 10 seconds. If he would have just laid a couple more shots, the ref probably would have stopped because he looked dazed when he got up after that bell.
Oh, yeah.
So, can you go back to the card?
Klein looked good. How about the head kick from that dude?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he looked good, man. Now, I can't remember who missed weight. So that was a couple of things that were bad in there.
Yeah.
But Klein looked good, and Brad Riddell. What a fight that was between Riddell and Alex Da Silva. That was a barn burner fight. Those guys were going after it. And you could see there was the mistake made by the referee where he stopped it thinking
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it was a mistake. You've got to look, and I've had those where, a guy will think that he got poked when you see that it's the hand is closed. So it's the knuckles going into the eye socket. Mm-hmm. Feels like you got poked. Yep, but it's a legal punch. You can't stop it. But man, that was a hell of a fight between those two.
Why do they not go to the instant replay right away and say, look, nope, go back to work. Go as soon as they see it, go right back to fighting. He still was given another 2 minutes after that to really get back into I saw that. I actually felt like in that situation, when you start grabbing the eye, he could have continued to keep fighting, but it would have definitely changed, I think, a little bit of the outcome of that fight because he would have taken some big shots in the process of thinking his eye had been poked.
Well, when you take a look at the way that instant replay, when it was first put in, and instant replay has changed in the NFL and it's changed in the NBA since they put it in. When we put instant replay in the unified rules, it was you could only use it in a fight ending sequence. And the reason for that is your top level guys, your Jason Herzog, who did the main event, and your Herb Deans and your Mark Otters, they're not going to go to instant replay at a time that they shouldn't. Yeah. But when you put in these rules and you have, officials all over the world now going by them, and some of them are not as adept at thinking of, they're trying to say, I want to be right, and not think about the sequence that they're now stopping. Because when you stop that sequence, when Brad hits that shot and you see Alex go, oh, like this, and the referee comes in, and I know the referee, he's from Poland, I've worked with him before, he comes in and he stops it. He just took away a possible fight ending scenario for Brad Riddell. And, that's taking away an advantage that he legally gained, while Alex is getting a break and being able to recover from a legal blow that he might not be able to recover from if you let that fight go on. So you have to be careful, but we're looking at ways of trying to change that instant replay review. So maybe it's, we have to bring another official, and we have, like the NFL, that instant replay person is sitting there. They're, that's their job, and they notify the referee right away. No, that was good. You need to get that fight going back again. And so the referee puts him back in that same position, gets that fight going. We're talking about it. So hopefully, that'll change and improve the sport.
Yeah.
But that was a really good fight.
It was a good fight. It was. I mean, I had, was it De Silva? I had him ahead pretty much the whole fight. He was doing some good work. He was controlling everything, but it was a good fight back and forth. Brad had his moments here and there in that fight, but I had De Silva. I can't even say his last name. Coelho. Yeah. So, but I had him.
You had him winning?
I had him winning.
Really?
Yep.
I had Brad winning.
Okay.
I thought they got the right guy.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I mean, I thought De Silva was doing enough to win the fight.
I thought he won the first round, but after that,
good stuff. It was still a good fight. Like you could.
Oh, it's great.
I thought it was close either way, but you could tell the fight was good. The fight was a good fight. Good exchanges really back and forth.
Entertaining fight.
Go back to the card.
It's gone.
Oh, okay. Dun, dun, dun. What other? Let me see. Dun, dun. Let's just talk. Let's go right.
My favorite one. Which one?
Yeah, wait.
I'll tell you right now. My favorite?
Yes.
I love Brandon Royval.
Okay.
God damn, him against Cara France. Brandon was fun. He was going for it. And even after, I loved everything about him. I loved the way he fought. I loved the way he went after all kinds of crazy things as far as he was mixing things up. He hit that spinning back. I don't know if it was an elbow or a fist, but it was, I don't know if he meant to throw it as a back elbow or fist, but cleanly. And you saw, man, Cara France has got a chin because he was out for a second. He was frozen. He comes back up, and that was after Brandon had gone down, and Royval goes down, tries to get up, and all of a sudden stumbles again. Just an incredible display. And then afterwards, he's talking. He says, I was going to stand with him. He goes, you don't stand against that guy. He says, that guy got a lot more power than you, man.
It was a good fight. It was a
beautiful guillotine, man. The guillotine that he threw on, that's tight.
I thought that when they had announced this fight being on the main card, and then right there, I was like, I don't know. And then when they started getting after, I was like, I'm thankful you guys put it right there.
Someone knew what they were doing on that one.
Yes, they did. I just wasn't sure how it was going to pan out. I hadn't really seen Royval fight before. So I was like, I'd seen like clips and snippets of him fighting. I saw him
when he fought Tim Elliott.
And
he beat Tim Elliott, man. He submitted Tim Elliott. I was like, God damn, man. I got a lot of respect for Tim Elliott. He's a
gamer.
Fighter. Tough. Oh man. You talk about a gamer, a guy that's just balls to the wall all the time. Crazy good. And Royval put it on him, and then coming into this one, I am a new fan, man. I will watch that kid anytime.
Yeah.
He's fun. He's crazy fun.
Yeah. I mean, he did everything he needed to do. And what I liked was that even though to me, he wasn't the technician on the feet, but he was okay with not being that person and still standing, but only enough to get to where he wanted to go. So Never letting Kai Kara France, whatever, get into
said it perfect.
Yeah, never letting him feel like we're gonna stand for too long, because if that happens, then realizing that you could end up getting rocked, putting yourself in a situation where you don't want to. And he did get rocked a couple times, but he understood that right after he did something, right after he got rocked, all he had to do was throw back and then get back into some sort of grappling exchange. Once he was able to do that, you just realize that he was just dictating where the fight was going to take place. And that's high level fight IQ. That's all it was. There was a lot of high level fight IQ in that card. I mean on that fight. So
and a little bit of crazy.
That always helps.
Crazy always makes it good.
That always helps. But I was very impressed. It was a good fight for both of them. I thought Kai could have done a little bit more as far as letting the hands go a little bit more. Don't get me wrong, they were scrapping at it. But he was letting Brandon Royval get the better in some of the stuff and getting off first. He was letting him dictate where the fight would go, kind of walking him down, big punches, and that didn't work to Kai's advantage.
Now, I thought the one thing I thought Kai made him, it looked to me like Kai, he was definitely looking for the knockout, but he was looking for the one punch knockout. Yeah. He was looking for that big shot. When he's so good in the stand-up, just keep touching him, man. Your footwork, move in and out. When he's coming close, circle out, hit him. If he would have done those things, which he is definitely capable of, might have been a different fight. But to both guys, thank you very much, man. You put on one hell of a show. It was fun for me to watch. I was sitting there going, oh, I was having fun, man. So it was good.
It was nice. All right, let's get into Jan and Dominic Reyes.
Goddamn, dude, Jan is a block-headed, huge power guy, man. I said I really thought that Dom had the advantage in this fight based upon movement, because what Dom likes to do, especially being the southpaw, is he'll lead guys because they want to go away from his power in his left hand, and he'll lead them so that they're trying to step outside, and he'll turn and spin and launch that left hand, and he lands it all the time. And I thought he was going to be able to do that, but I'll give it, Jan credit. He did not in any way care about the power of Dom Reyes. He did not ever let him step off. He kept him straight in line, and the accuracy of that kick that he kept throwing,
yes,
to the body,
yep,
dude, it had to hit the same spot freaking 6-7 times. I mean, the exact same spot. The accuracy of it was incredible. And man, he's got power in his hands, because he shellacked Corey Anderson.
Yeah.
He went out stiff. That nose job, the rearranging of Dominic's nose was a beautiful shot, and he was definitely hurt going down. I did think the referee could have let it go just a little bit longer, because Dom's legs are up. He's trying. He's bringing the hands up to. I don't think it was going to change anything. So, but championship fight, make it decisive. Make it decisive. Don't give anyone the chance to say, oh, but you take a look at Dom's face. It's okay, because Jan Blachowicz, the new light heavyweight world champion, looked fantastic and definitely rearranged a lot of what Dominic did not want him rearranged.
Yeah, I liked a little bit of that inside leg kick as well. He's kicking like kind of around ankle to mid calf level. That also is effective, not just on the outside, but on the inside. So you're hitting that little meaty part of the shin bone there. And then on top of it, like you said, the body kicks were definitely key. But what that did was he threw the longer inside leg kick or the body kick when he was inside kicking range. So then Dom never had a chance to really settle his feet or, establish what he wanted to do. When he did that, and then when he came back inside, everything was with the boxing range. And Jan was the better boxer, I think, when they got in close.
His hands are better.
Yeah, and obviously he's got plenty of power. So, but he just I thought he fought a very smart fight, a very good fight. He did everything he needed to do. He stayed composed the whole time. He also created some angles to step off and throw more boxing. He did a great job, phenomenal job. I mean, I'm not sure that I would be saying, "Hey, John, come fight." I'd like to leave that, probably let that sleepy dog lie for a fight or two. Make some money, buddy, because realistically, we both know he probably got paid a little bonus for fighting for the title. But the UFC contracts, you don't actually get paid until you are the champion. So you get
Yep.
bonuses
Bigger
for
money.
fighting for the title, but you don't get the big money until you are defending your title. So I would probably wait to start calling out John Jones, and nothing against him. I mean, he's got a chance. I mean, Dom did really well against him, but different body styles, different things like that play a factor. The MMA math doesn't add up always. But I would wait for the John Jones call out. I would have waited at least a fight or two. Make a little line my pockets a little bit, But I thought
let's Stipe handle that one.
Yeah, right.
And Ngannou handle that one for a little bit.
Great performance, though. I thought it was an absolutely great performance on his part. With Dom, where does he go from here?
He's young, and you look and in his career, that's his 14th fight. So he's a young guy. He's still got a lot of fighting left in him. I don't know what his age is, but it's right at close to 30. So if he's 29, 30, okay, he's 30 years old. So you figure he's got how many good years left if he's smart with what he does. He's got at least 5 to 6 good years left. And that's plenty of time to get yourself back, start figuring out where those mistakes were made in the fight and what you need to change to fight someone that has the power. Because, there's one thing, you look at John Jones. John's not known to have a lot of power. He volume attacks guys and just overwhelms them with that volume. And then when they hit the ground, then he's incredibly tough once he's on top of you. But Blachowicz is the guy. He's got power. And, that one punch can change the entire event of it. You've got to figure out, okay, when I have a guy that's got that kind of power, what do I need to do to change this up to make it so I'm not taking the chances that, puts me in range where I can get beat. But
John,
I think he's still a young guy that's going to have a lot of success.
Yeah, John's a very calculated fighter. He finds ways, like he finds habits you do inside the cage 1 or 2 minutes in, and then once he does that, every round is something different. He sees that you're feinting or you're parrying too much with the right hand, he goes to the head on that side. He sees that your elbows are up, he goes to the body on that side. He just systematically picks you apart as the fight goes on. Jan's not that kind of fighter. He sure does things, but he doesn't. I don't see him make those type of adjustments as the fight goes on. He kind of has his game and
he's got his plan.
John's a lot more well-rounded and can do a lot of other things, outside if he needs to make the adjustments. Dom showed that he wasn't able to make the adjustments either. There was some stuff that he could have made some adjustments between, in between rounds, and it just wasn't done. And he just kept doing the same thing. And I think that's what led into what happened with Jan.
Yeah.
But I think it's good. I think you have another Polish champion. Thought it was, I think it's good. It's so funny. I love to listen to, we had a Polish guy training at AKA, and Michael Maturla, I think is his last name is Maturla. He would tell me, I'd train with him and grapple. He's a big guy, 200 pounds, fights at 185, I believe. Anyways, we would grapple a little bit, and he's like, yeah, I want you to show me how to make the sweep. And everything is, I want you to show me how to make this. Show me how to make the sweep. Show me how to make the punch. Show me how to make the combination. And so it was always so funny. And then I hear Jan talk, and he's like, yes. And I was asking my coach to have him show me how to make this and make that. It's its own personal thing. I thought it was pretty funny.
And now show me how to make the money.
Yeah, show me how to make the money. Yes. let's not call John Jones out just yet. I'll show you how to make the money.
You got to you look at, Blachowicz coming from Poland was the KSW champion.
Mm-hmm.
Came to the UFC, and he struggled a little bit with a couple of his fights. But what's his win streak at now? 4 or 5?
Four
for sure.
Yep, 4. And he lost to Santos.
Oh, yeah. And Santos, and who is next? Santos is
fighting Glover.
Yes. Ooh.
So Teixeira against Santos. And the winner of that gets their chance at Mr. Blachowicz.
Yeah,
that should be a good one.
Has Jan fought, or not Jan, but Glover? Has he fought Reyes?
Yeah. Thiago? No.
No, he's fought Reyes. No, he hasn't fought Reyes.
Has he fought Reyes?
No, I don't see it on here.
No. This is UFC fights.
I mean, Santos been out for what, a year and a half now? A year?
Yep.
Because of the knee injury after he fought John Jones.
Yep.
Yeah, he looked phenomenal in the John Jones fight, considering he tore his knee in the first or second round, early in the second round.
Santos better keep that fight on his feet. That's all I'm going to
yeah,
say.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a very telling fight. Go back to UFC 200 and watch Thiago against a guy named Gegard Mousasi.
Mm-hmm.
Watch Gegard take him down and just tool him on the ground. Well, if Gegard can tool him, so can Glover Teixeira. And Glover on the ground is a beast. He's heavy and he's good. So,
well, I mean, I'll play devil's advocate to that.
Go ahead.
Devil's advocate is this. He was cutting a ton of weight to get to 185.
Yeah.
He's not the same guy. 205 he's a different fighter at 205.
I agree.
And so that being said,
I hate agreeing with you.
The other thing is Glover also doesn't, I would say he's not a good wrestler. I'm just saying it's a lot harder for a guy who's 41, Glover, to shoot a double leg or to get in and take someone down like how Gegard would. Different styles of wrestling. And I think
Glover's wrestling's pretty damn good.
I'm not saying it's bad.
Pretty damn good.
I'm just saying bigger guys like Glover and guys now that Santos has actually put on the weight, they don't have the same wrestling as Gegard. The style of wrestling is different. There's a little bit more slickness, I think, to the Gegard wrestling than there will be for the Glover wrestling.
A little more speed to it.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. God, I love when you give me the words I'm looking for. I love that.
There you go, baby. It'll be an interesting fight, though. It's a good matchup. I think that power wise, Glover's got power, but I do think that Santos has the advantage in the power. He's faster than Glover.
Got it.
So he's got that. So I really look at Glover's got to close and crush that space on, take away that speed, take away a lot of that power. And if he doesn't, and you're looking at a guy, and it could be that Santos doesn't come back the same, but the way he was when he was injured, he was looking really good on his feet.
Yeah, I look at he may have problems with Santos based on the fact that look at how Anthony Smith was tearing up Glover in the first round and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, he got tired. But I don't think he can afford to do that against someone like Santos. He can't afford to take that type of opponent, that too much power, different levels of power. So, I mean, but overall, it makes for a good story. If Glover can get back into a title shot at what, 41 years old?
Pretty cool.
I think he's 41, I think.
For a guy that took forever for him to get into the UFC.
40, so he's 40. But yeah, it took him forever because of visa problems, right? He had some big issues with visas. Yeah, and there was talk about him like years before he got in the UFC. It was like, I'd say almost probably 4 years. It was about 4 years before that. There was people talking about no one wanted to fight him. He couldn't get fights anywhere.
Dude, I was doing his fights all over the world because he would go different. He'd go to Australia to fight. He would go to different places. And you look, you go,
poor guy.
God damn, kid, are you ever going to get? He's like, I can't, man. I got visa problems.
That sucks, man. That sucks. All right, let's go. Let's talk about the main event. Wow.
I think I kind of called it exactly what happened.
Wow.
There's a difference. And
you didn't call it. Calm down.
Oh,
you didn't call it. Don't
back
call
and
it.
listen. Go back and
good
listen.
thing Dave doesn't know how to pull up old film.
No. There's that thing that we call levels. And there's a level to the stand-up style that Adesanya has. And first off, he's fast. He's fast. I can tell you being in a ring with him,
Cage.
Just watching him, it's like,
oh, ring, that's right.
No, that was a ring. I never was in a cage with him. So, but man, he's very fast and he sets it up with his timing, setting up that distance and waiting for a guy to get to a certain point. And all of a sudden, as that guy's moving forward, he's capitalizing on, and it just makes him look faster than he actually even is. And he was, from the get-go, you can take a look at what was happening in the fight when Paulo started shaking his head when he was getting hit with the low calf kick. It was low to the calf, right on the knee, a couple of different ones, and he's sitting there shaking his head. I go, you're done. Yeah. I swear to God, I just sat there. I said, he's done. I go, you're doing that already in the first round. I said, that's telling me your mind's not where it needs to be. And this was just the different levels of fighters as far as also the people that they have experienced being in that cage or ring with. And that was the big difference that I saw, in looking at this fight was there was some guys that Paulo fought that you can look at and say, hey man, he was a good fighter. Like when he fought Johnny Hendricks, Johnny Hendricks was going up in weight. Johnny was the welterweight champion. But when Johnny went up in weight, he was not the same fighter. And he had been beat multiple times. Stephen Thompson had knocked him out, and he had lost his title with Robbie. And then he went up to 185 and just didn't look good. And so Paulo beat that guy. And then, he had the fight with Yoel, and he did look good for the first couple rounds. And then he was struggling in that, last round. But I looked at everybody that he had fought comparatively, as far as Adesanya has been in with the top dudes, not only in MMA, as far as he hasn't had that many in MMA, but in kickboxing, dude, he's been in with some studs. And that experience, it's invaluable, man. It puts you in that position where you look and you say, hey, I've been in with the very best. I'm not worried about this. You don't do anything that I haven't seen before. And that was my real thing with Costa, because I knew Costa was, he's a good grappler. He's got a good grappling game. Show me the time that he has been grappling since he's been in the UFC. He just doesn't. He wants to knock everybody out, and he wanted to knock Israel Adesanya out. It's just not the game plan you need to beat that guy. The
game plan he came in with, it wouldn't have mattered at all. That's not the game plan, period, to beat him.
Like, it was horrible.
The only game plan that he should have came in with is the one that Kelvin Gastelum came in with. I'm going to fucking make this a dogfight and just hope I clip you, or just hope I can get into the exchanges to take you down. And he never did that.
I think that's what people expected, because basically that's what Paulo had done with all of he had gotten in all of his opponent's faces and basically, you know what, you took my mom's money and I'm going to beat you down. And so he would go after guys. And so you thought that was going to be what you were going to see when he fights Israel. Came out a little bit different, and I don't blame him. I thought he needed to. But when you can't catch someone, I don't care how much power you have. You can hit the air how many times, it's not going to hurt anybody. Yeah. Okay. So you got to be able to catch that guy. And that's what I really thought was going to be his problem, is being able to catch Israel in situations where he was able to land clean shots.
Yeah. Well, the way not to beat Izzy is to stand at range and just let him kick you. We figured that out in the first 20 seconds.
Oh my God.
It was when he stood there, and I thought, man, okay, he's going to be a little bit of a showman. Okay, I'm okay with it. But then as the round went on and he just kept doing that, there was never a moment where he was pushing the pace, trying to get after, make it a dogfight. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing? You can't stand at kicking range with someone who's got longer legs and arms than you.
And it's not only that, it's when he was trying to cut the cage off on it. But if you're going to cut the cage off, once you cut that angle to cut him off, you've got to engage and make him pay for moving in that direction. You can't cut him off and not engage.
Yeah.
Then you're back to, it's a chase. So I don't know. I think it's a learning experience for Paulo. He's still a young
29.
fighter. Oh yeah. And he's going to have his shots again, but he's going to have to figure out, this is MMA. I may not match up exactly like I thought I was going to match up with this guy. So if I get a chance, I'm going to have to change that game plan. And that's the best part about MMA. He could be better in one area, but all you do is drag him into your world. Make him fight your fight. My dad said it too many times. When you are fighting another man's fight, you're an idiot. And, that's the whole thing that you've got to look at. How do I make him have to fight my fight? That's the question when it comes to Adesanya, because, man, no one's really done it. You're right. Kelvin Gastelum kind of got him to do it. And that was the fight that gave, Adesanya the most trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, because here's the thing is, honestly, in my mind, I reverted back to that fight and I was like, man, if he gets hit by Costa the way he got hit by Gastelum, who's a smaller 85-pounder, I'm like, man, this fight could be done. And so in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, if Costa makes it a dog fight, like he's been making a dog fight when he fought Yoel Romero, and he's had success. And I thought if he fought that same way, he had a very good chance of winning, especially in the first two rounds. Third, fourth, and fifth, I gave it, if it got to that far, I gave it to Izzy the whole way, because the technique and the style of which he has would work to his advantage, especially the length and the range. Once you've slowed down enough at the end of the second or into the third round, it's harder to get in on the takedown. It's harder to keep scrapping, as we saw with Yoel Romero. And Izzy can just use his technique in kickboxing to keep it on the feet. And we never got to that point. So it didn't make a difference.
Let's be honest. After the very first minute, 1 minute into the fight, if you know what you're looking at, you go, this fight's done.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was watching it. I was like you, a little bit in shock. I'm like, okay, you're going to just turn this on any moment, right? Turn it on. And I'm like, and I'm going to turn it off here in like 2 seconds. I was baffled what I was watching. But look, I don't want to go too much towards Costa as much as I want to say Izzy's a fucking savage. I got to tell you, he's so damn good. He is so good. And I mean, I like everything that he says after the fact. He said when he's talking about, okay, I want to beat Yoel, I want to beat Whitaker, I want to beat Kevin Gass, I want to fight Paulo Costa. Now, what did he say? He wants to fight Cannonier.
Jared Cannonier.
And he said if he gets past Whitaker, he's like, I think
got
that
a
guy
good chance of that.
If he does, I want to fight that guy. You can't be mad. As a promoter, Dana White sitting there going, hello.
Hello, I love you.
Yeah, where have you been all my life? You know, that kind of thing. I mean, gives me flashbacks of like a younger, John Jones. Just didn't care, just knew he relied on his abilities and his strengths to go ahead and just dismantle people. I'm a little sad that we may not be able to see the John Jones Izzy fight, because I'd like to see that fight. Because after he beats Cannonier, where does he go?
It's a good question.
It's like,
where does he go?
Let's start talking money fights. And John tweeted that whole thing about maybe I should come back down and fight at 205 and get my belt back. And everyone's, laughing about it. And Dana came out and said that, he's all for it. He's like, hey, if he wants that fight, he can have that fight, But I would like to see the Izzy and John Jones fight. That to me is one of those fights. I feel
especially since they've been doing this for how long? Come on. They've been jaw jacking back and forth. And Izzy's got a talent for getting under guys' skin. Yeah. He's good at it. He sits there and he makes little, statements and pisses you off. And he's pissed John off, and John's tried to piss him off. I think, I don't know if it's really gotten to him or not, but that's a great fight. It's a fight where you look and you say, John has an advantage in one area. No doubt. His wrestling, which he used to use. Yeah. He's got an advantage. Will he try to use it against him? Don't know if he can.
It's going to be hard. I mean, it's going to be hard. The speed, I think. The other thing too is how old is John now? 33, 34. It's not the same. You just
said the magic word.
Yeah.
I could sit there and say whatever you want. John was never that fast
of
an athlete. Okay, he's great. I take nothing from him, but if you're going to sit there and you're going to look at certain factors and what makes him who he is, he's got some speed, but not that exceptional speed. Izzy is that guy that's way faster.
Let's have this conversation then. Izzy, if he continues to do what he's doing at 185, does he become the best fighter in the world? I mean, outside of, to me, is Khabib. Everyone's going to say John Jones. I have the drug issue with that. But look, I understand the talent and the ability's always been there. Okay, and I've never disputed that ever in my life. I think he's always been the most athletic, the most talented fighter there probably has ever walked face through, John Jones. But he's just got that aura of what goes along with it. It was the failed drug test. Izzy, though, doesn't have that. Khabib doesn't have that. I think when you put those guys in there and look, he's 20-0. He only needs 6-7 more fights of being undefeated. Do we put him in that conversation? Khabib's what?
He gets 8 more.
Yeah.
He gets 8 more, and obviously Khabib's going to be fighting there too. But, when you're getting up there into that's rarefied air.
Yeah.
You're getting 20-0, okay, and 20-0 not fighting cans.
No, asking for the best guys.
Exactly. You're 20-0 and you're the guy with the target on his back. You're the one that everyone wants because you're holding that belt.
Yeah.
He's getting there, man. He's, like I said, it's something about, that 185-pound tends to have one guy that just all of a sudden dominates. Anderson did it before, and Izzy's got, a very similar style in a lot of ways to him. The one thing that I looked at that I was surprised at, because I didn't think he'd had that many, this was his 100th combat
Wow.
sports career fight. Okay, he's 20-0, but probably had 9 or 10 of those in the UFC. Okay, 80 fights outside, in kickboxing. Okay, and he doesn't have any damage on him.
No.
What does that tell you about his level?
Yep. No, it's
He's
true.
something special, man.
It's true. I think, but here's the thing. John stayed in his weight class the whole time and just did what he did and just sometimes beat the same guys twice. Now, when you talk about Izzy, he's beaten all the guys and he's got 1 or 2 more guys left, I think, in his weight class that he needs to distinguish. And once he does, do we try to take him there? Or do we just let him keep doing the same thing he's doing and become 30-0? And then that'll put him there in that conversation. Or does the UFC say, hey, you know what? Let's try and capitalize on the fact that you're 31 and you and John Jones could potentially make for a fight of the decade or whatever it is and a ton of fucking money. You know what I mean? That fight right there would just sell unbelievable money. Yeah, you would think.
Put that fight over in either Australia in that arena that they've used multiple times where Ronda Rousey fought Holly Holmes or Adesanya fought Whitaker. Or put it in New Zealand, come on.
Yeah.
You could make a ton
of money
with that fight. And both of those guys will make a ton of money. That would be good.
That's a fight you've got to put, though, when there's fans. You can't do it when there's not
fans.
Oh,
yeah. No.
Yeah. But then where does that here? But why? I understand putting it there because Izzy's the younger and up-and-coming guy. But then I don't think John would really agree to that, just to be honest. I'm like, I'm not going to fight the young buck over there in his home where he's from. Hell no, man. You got to be out your damn mind.
Stop. Okay, let's be honest. So
I am being honest.
Yeah, well, so John, then you show me the place that I can put it on here in the States where you're going to sell that many seats.
Well, how big is the T-Mobile Arena? I don't even know how big that place is.
20,000.
20,000. What are the arenas around here that do that? What's 20. Anaheim? Anaheim's what, 20 also?
Yeah.
So we're just using all hockey and basketball rinks, all 20,
18 to 20,000.
Yeah, 18 to 21, 20. Yeah. Sorry. I got you.
So let's say, all right, we're going to put it on in Texas, AT&T Texas Stadium. All right. Are you going to sell as many seats? No, John doesn't sell as many seats.
Yeah.
So if you put it over in New Zealand or you put it in Australia, you're going to sell more seats, more people. Who's the guy that's going to put more butts in the seats? That's where we're going to go.
Hostile territory.
Just the way I look at it. Territory. Sometimes you gotta face those monsters, man.
I guess if I was John, I'd say, hard pass.
Hard pass.
Oh yeah, I'd say hard pass. It makes for a very interesting conversation. It does.
I also like what Izzy said after, because he's yelling at Dana, and he wasn't really yelling, but he's saying, 80%, and he's talking about weight cuts and how much they're being penalized. And we've talked about that forever. And, and I've always said, I think it should be a 50% of your purse and 1 point off your scorecard at the beginning. I want to make it to where you're paying. It's going to hurt you.
I wowould hate people like you. It's not that I ever had a hard time making weight, but bottom line is man, just no thanks. No, if 50%, I wouldn't even fight. I would just say, nah, I'm good. If I miss weight at 50%, I wouldn't even fight.
And how many times? And the only time that it matters is when it's that championship fight. Okay, because the promotion itself, you go to the promotion, you say, I know I have a problem, blah blah blah. You don't have to weigh in. They can always cancel the fight before you weigh in, or they can go to your opponent, and then your opponent is not losing that same amount of weight. And they put you in a contracted weight of, if you're a 155-pound fighter, you're not going to make it. We'll say, okay, 165 or 160 or whatever it's going to be. It's fairer for your opponent.
Yeah.
Because when your opponent's having to lose the weight and you're not, that's not right.
I think what we have to have is a serious conversation about percentages. So every pound or 2 pounds, you lose a percent, like 10 percentage points, like whatever it is. I think I agree with that type of system, because when you get into 4 and 5 pounds, that's fucking ridiculous. I understand
you're a guy.
Oh yeah, I didn't hear. I couldn't hear because there was people around. I wasn't really listening to the commentary.
Yeah, and I did hear that he was out there in sweats trying to, running around, but I don't know what happened, why he couldn't get up. But 5 pounds?
Yeah. Now, we've talked about this. I think the percentages got to go. Like, in terms of, if it's 1 pound, I understand. Maybe you had a
1 pound, 20%.
Ooh, that's steep.
1 pound, 20%.
I get it. Because you're already giving that 1 pound allowance. So you're actually missing it by 2.
2.
Yeah, I understand that. So 1 pound, 20%, but you've got to go up every pound over that. It becomes more of a percentage.
30, 40, 50.
30, 40, 50. I can get behind that. But honestly, if I'm a fighter that's 5 pounds over and I'm losing 50%, I'm like, I'll pass till next fight. I'm not going to lose 50%, then lose another 10 or 20 to your trainer and your manager and whatever else. I mean, that's a ton, man. You're fighting for 25%. That's it.
Yeah, but you look at who he's fighting. Look at, Mean Hakeem is fighting at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Here's a kid that made weight. He got down to 145 pounds, and now he's having to fight a guy who didn't have to possibly put out as much effort in getting down to that weight. It's not right.
Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about Conor and Dana. Let's talk about the drama. The reason why we talk about drama is because Podcast Dave is a WWE fan, and that's all they have is drama. And so when there's drama out there, Dave's the first one to send us.
That's a different kind of drama. This is
kind of all the same, don't you think? It's kind of all the same.
I don't know that it's almost getting down to that the bro code is being broken again, man. It's going back to like Brendan Schaub and Dana when they were on the thing.
You know what? Here's the thing though, is the bro code only works, right, when it favors Dana. That's
of course.
The thing. And that's the only part that's true. Like,
hey,
you can't say like, oh, I didn't want that fight, when obviously he has screenshots saying that he wanted the fight. It's like, hey, look, what are you doing? And fighters have talked about it before. Like,
what did he say about Dustin Poirier?
That he wanted too much money, right? Over the.
Oh, he said, he goes, there's a lot of ways to negotiate yourself out of a fight.
Yeah.
You don't want the fight. You don't want to fight. No, he wants a certain amount of money for that fight. And so it's not to say that he doesn't want to fight. He's not willing to fight that person for what you want to pay him.
Yeah. I mean, you could look at it both ways though. We do sign contracts. We are locked into that contract, and yeah, I don't know how you would look at it any other way. I mean, like from the promoter's point of view, sure, I'm going to give you a bonus for taking this fight because I know it's going to be a good fight because I know both you guys are great fighters. Both of you guys lay it on the line. But, I mean, if you're pricing yourself out, you're pricing yourself out. I mean, I don't know how much more you wanted to fight Tony. But
I don't either, but
the bottom line is, Justin Gaethje and Conor McGregor, I never doubted that Conor wanted that fight. And what's his name said, Dana said multiple times that he didn't want that fight. That doesn't.
Oh no, it was a Diego Sanchez fight. Dana White said in the text, he's like, I might as well lose my promoter license if I book you and Diego.
Yeah, and I understand that part of it, but I also understand. Here's the thing: I'm taking it for what it's worth. People want to slam Conor for being a piece of shit, but the one thing I'm saying, the reason why he wanted the Diego fight is he wants Diego to make money and bounce. I really believe that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm far-fetched. Everyone knows Conor's the money fight. Everybody wants that fight. I honestly believe that Conor is one of those guys now that he realizes that he's always known he's the money fight, but he knows that Diego's looking for a big money fight, and he's not going to ever get it. He'll never get it. Now he'll never get it. And I don't think that. I think Conor would have just taken that fight and would have probably, I don't know. I don't want to say carried him through it, but I don't think it was for any other reason. The fact that he wanted to give that guy just a money fight to retire on. That's all I thought.
First off, it was Diego that came out and in an interview with the media before the fight said, I'm not chasing belts anymore. I'm about, legend fights. He says, I want to fight so and so. My last fight, I want to fight Conor McGregor.
Yeah. And
Conor came out and tweeted, it would be an honor. Okay. And so, you look at it, and if you're Dana, I don't blame Dana. I don't want to put that fight on. What does that fight do for you? It would be impossible to sell. No one, even if it's Conor on it, it's not going to do good numbers. All right, comparatively. So Diego's not going to make the kind of money that, guys are going to make with it. You got to take a look at Dana's in a position where, he's got several fighters that he's going to have to do something with.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. Can Diego fight? Diego can fight. Okay. He's still just a fucking gritty, tough, crazy fighter who, puts it all out there. But He's slower now. He doesn't absorb damage quite the same way. Guys are able to bully him around. You know, you could just see the way his body is comparative to what it was in the past. You know, he's aging.
Yeah.
And all of the damage, it's accruing and it's catching up to him and it's showing in his performances. You know, I love Cowboy and I will never say anything bad about Donald Cerrone. I think he's phenomenal and I would watch him fight all the time. But you can see it in his performances. He's changing. He cannot do the things that he did in the past. The timing is not there. The speed is not there. And the power is starting to go away. When he does hit someone, they're walking through it. When he kicks someone, instead of them stumbling and falling to the ground, they're walking through it. So if you're Dana, you got to take a look and say, well, you know, what am I going to do here? Do I give these guys another fight? Because if you give them another fight, well, you're kind of like the, you know, and I'm not saying this in a bad way about Dana. You're kind of like the drug dealer. You're the pusher on the corner who's giving the guy the next fix. Now, those guys aren't, you know, it's not a drug thing. They're doing it for the money. They're a prize fighter. But there's got to be a time when you say, hey, man, you know, I'm not, he did it with Chuck.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm not going to promote any more of your fights. You know, you want to go somewhere else. I'll let some other promoter deal with that.
The argument with the Chuck thing could be made that it was obvious that Chuck's chin was done and Chuck couldn't take a shot. These guys are still taking shots, and not that I'm saying that, like, you know, but they're still taking shots. They're
taking big shots, Josh.
But they're not. I know, but they're not dropping like Chuck was dropping.
I didn't say that they're getting knocked out.
Yeah,
but they're taking big shots.
Oh, I know,
and it's adding up. And you're the guy that's promoting them.
Yeah.
You're the guy that's giving them money to step into that cage and to take that chance of that guy lighting you up again. And there comes a point where you've got to look and say, I cannot control what you as a human being and as a professional fighter do if you want to continue on with this. I can't control that. It's your life. It's your opinion that I want to continue. All I can say is that as the promoter, I'm not going to be the guy paying to watch you fight anymore. I'm not going to be the guy giving you that opportunity. You want to try to get it from somebody else? I'm sure there's somebody else out there who can do it. But I've seen enough. I think that you've had an amazing career. You're a Hall of Famer. Let's do something different. You know, because it's gotten to that point. Cowboy's going to be a Hall of Famer in the UFC. Is he not? He's got more wins than anybody in the
Yeah, I can't
UFC.
imagine him not being.
Okay, is Diego, you can sit there and say he's in the Hall of Fame with Clay Guida for that fight, but is he going to be put into the Hall of Fame for what he's contributed to the UFC as a fighter? Yes, they're both Hall of Famers. You want to see him go out with all the losses just piling up, and they're just going to continue to pile up. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know, Jake Matthews is a really good young fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Nico is a good young fighter, but not great. And these guys are now losing not to the Conor McGregors, not to the Tony Fergusons or those kind of guys. They're losing to guys that you go, that's a good fighter, but he's not a top level guy.
Yeah.
So where are you going to go with him?
Yeah, I mean, Dana came out already and said we have to have this conversation about Donald Cerrone. We definitely have to have the conversation. You know, I'm going to go back and talk with people about the Diego thing. There's other guys I think on the roster as well you may want to start having the conversation about as well. But it really just comes down to certain guys I think you'll have to have the conversation with, and certain guys you won't. I don't think with Cowboy you're going to have it. I think Cowboy came out after, he's like, if I do fight again, he's like, I'm fighting for my job. I think he knows and understands. Sure, he wants to ride the dog until the fucking wheels fall off. I understand that as well. But I also think he understands he's got 2 kids now. I think reality is setting in. I think a little bit of that is in every fight that you take the amount of damage that he's been taking. It just takes a year or 2 or 3 years off the life that you're going to spend with your kids. And your life changes. Everything changes once you have, especially when you have 2 kids. It's going to change for him. And I think he's looking at that going, is it worth 1 or 2 more fights and losing an extra 6 or 7 years with my kids later on in life and seeing my grandchildren? Fuck no, it's not, man. You know, and I think in reality, I think that's for a lot of fighters. They need to have that come to Jesus talk with themselves And Donald seems like he understands that. Diego seems like it's not even in the fucking books.
Never.
So the conversation, I think, it will have to happen with Diego. I don't think it's going to have to happen with Donald. I think Donald's going to have maybe one more. And I want people to see this. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not, but I got to tell you, for me, this is what it was. Is I realized when I was throwing combinations that I would leave my hands out there and wait to get hit back because I knew I wasn't fast enough to bring my hands back anymore without getting hit. And I see it with Donald. He throws and he stays there in stone for a split second, waiting to see if he gets hit or not. Sometimes he does, and sometimes he doesn't. That lets you know that your reaction time is not what it used to be. It also lets you know that you're expecting, because in training, you're getting hit with shots before you, as you're coming in or as you throw, you're waiting to get hit. Like you're tensing up and you're not throwing the next 3 and 4 punches or the next 2 and 3 punches because you're expecting to get hit. And that's not the remedy to win a fight. That's not that.
No.
You know what I mean? So when that happens, you need to have that. I've had that come to Jesus talk with myself in the mirror. When you realize in the gym, when you're sparring with guys that are not on your level or shouldn't be on your level, and you know they're not on your level, but now they're hitting you a lot more than they should have been, or they are, and that becomes a problem because now you're taking more damage in training, which is mainly where all the damage is taken. And then you go out there and you have the same problem in the fight. And I see it with Donald. With Diego, I don't see it as much with, because Diego's all over the place. Like like he just throws and like, you know, there's never really a hesitation. He just throws, but I can see that he just started, instead of stepping in with combinations now, he just covers up and runs in and then waits till he gets close enough and then starts throwing. There's a difference between that and then with what Cowboy does. You know, Cowboy throws, but then he leaves himself out there expecting to get hit. They do something similar. They just do it differently on how they do it. You know, and there's other guys that, you know, in the UFC and other guys, and also too that I've seen in Bellator doing the same thing. Some of the guys do, the older guys. And it really is a fighter come to Jesus talk they have to have with themselves. Like I said, I think Cowboy has it. He'll have it with himself. Diego, someone's going to have it with him.
But going back to the Conor and now Dana having this little battle back and forth. Who do you honestly think is in the right and who's in the wrong?
I think
because Conor did put out private messages between the two.
I mean, I didn't read all the private messages. My point is when it comes to the fight conversation was that he was turning down fights and Conor, I don't think from my knowledge, I have not heard of him turning down fights outside of what Dana has said. And Conor is showing tweets or showing DMs saying that, like, see, I didn't turn this fight down. Sure, I understand the take on the Diego thing and why Dana wouldn't put it on. I can agree with that. I can see exactly why, you know, and I understand why Conor was thinking like, hey, it would be a money fight for him so he could ride off in the sunset. That's my perspective on what I think, why I think Conor would do it.
It's a different perspective, and if it's right, it's kind of got a nice, you know, ring to it. I just don't know if it's like, is it that, or it's like I can get paid for an easy fight.
It probably could be both. It probably could be both. But I mean, he knows he's not going to get paid much for that. He'll get paid, but it won't be what he would normally get paid if he fought someone like a Justin Gaethje or a Khabib. That's why I lean more towards the fact that I think he's doing it so Diego could ride off into the sunset. Because he said, I'd like for it to be my last fight. The reason why you like for me to be my last fight is let me speed that along for you, Diego. That's what Conor was saying. Let me speed that along. Let's make that fight so he can be done. Because he needs to be done. And then and I love Diego, but the fact is he needs to be done. Now, as far as the man code thing, it's hard. Well, the man code thing should be like, you shouldn't tell lies about me then to the press when you know it's not true. There you go. So that's also the man code thing. Yeah. Like, don't tell everybody that it's this when it's really not that. And I also think with Conor, him having fuck you money it means that I can do the same thing that you do, Dana. And I don't care. I don't have anyone to answer to, you know, and I think the fact that he hasn't heard anything, Dana had came out last night? Yeah, and said that he hadn't heard anything about the Manny Pacquiao fight and if it's going to happen, and he doesn't even know.
Oh, come on. You believe that he hadn't heard anything about the Manny Pacquiao fight?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's what he said. He's like, no, I don't know what's going on with it. He's like, I haven't been part of it. So, I mean, maybe he's heard the buzz about it, but I'm simply saying that he's not part of the negotiations.
All right, let's think about this. In the negotiations, doesn't Conor have a contract with the UFC?
Yeah, for MMA, not boxing.
Yeah, but their normal contract is you don't get a choice of doing boxing. You don't get a choice of doing any other combat. Oh, no.
Because Nick Diaz had it in there, he could.
No.
Nick Diaz had it in there, he could. That he could do boxing.
Maybe Conor does have a thing where he gets to do boxing when he signed a new contract, because he didn't in the past.
Yeah.
That's why the whole thing when he was trying to do it with Floyd, you're going, he's got to get the UFC to allow him.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he doesn't now. And maybe that's what he can do is, you know, so he can say what he wants with Dana. But, you know, that you look and say, he's going to fight Manny Pacquiao. Good luck.
Yeah.
That's not going to end well for you. Hope you get a good money grab.
Yeah.
It's going to end worse than the Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah. Because Manny's not going to carry the fight for 10 rounds.
No.
Yeah.
Manny's going to try to punch a hole in your head.
Yeah. He is. I'm sitting here I'm trying to have the conversation. Yes, he is. I think I'd give, how many rounds did you give Conor in that fight? I'm not saying he would win rounds. I'm simply saying how many rounds did you get? 2-3 rounds he would make it?
He might go 5 at the most.
You think so?
Yeah.
Size-wise.
At the most.
Size-wise.
Size-wise is the big thing, but
yeah.
You know, let's be honest, you know, Manny's gone up in weight and he's fought up into the 150, 154, I think is the heaviest he's gone.
Yeah.
Definitely he's gone 147. I think 154 is the heaviest he's ever been.
Yeah.
So that's right in Conor's wheelhouse. Yeah, he's shorter, but he definitely is fast.
Oh yeah.
Still.
And his footwork is
a motherfucker.
Southpaw.
Oh, dude. Southpaw against Southpaw.
Yeah, it's gonna pose different threats. All the stuff that for both of them, I think things that they're used to working for each other is not gonna work as well. But I think Manny's dealt with Southpaws a lot more than Conor has, dealt with. So
it's not Manny coming into Conor's world.
No, not at all.
It's Conor going into Manny's world. That's not a good world to be in.
But what do you look at? Outside of the Manny and the Conor thing, how do you view the man code thing with Dana?
I look at it in it goes both ways, and you can't sit there and put things out that work for you as the promoter, but put me on blast like I'm doing something I'm not doing.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is. Dana feeds out sometimes not the full connotation of what he's insinuating, but once he insinuates it, the media runs with it the way he put it out. And so he may not have said the specific word, but they've got the meaning of what he was saying. And so Conor's got a point when you say, hey, you were the one lying about me first.
Yeah.
So there's a code of conduct, and there's an honor that, hey, I'll always come to you. I won't put anything out. But once you start putting stuff out that I look at, that's just absolutely not true, and it's not true. This is how relationships end. Let's just say that.
But here's the thing, though. We've had these problems before, and it continues to have. Like John Jones said the same thing about Dana. Conor's now saying the same thing. We've had fighters in the GSPs that said a couple of times that he hasn't been truthful.
But it's the whole same thing I was talking about when he's talking about Dustin Poirier. To sit there and to say he doesn't want to fight.
Yeah.
That's not true. You can sit there and you can say it, but it doesn't make it a fact. He does want to fight, but he wants to fight for a certain amount of money. You, as the promoter, want him to fight, but you want him to fight for a lesser amount of money, and that's what's keeping the fight from happening. It's not that the person is afraid of taking that fight or doesn't want that fight. He just wants to be compensated this much for it, and you're saying it's not worth that much. And so you guys can't come to an agreement. Okay, so why are you saying that I don't want to fight? You're the one putting those words out there. Instead of saying, you know what, Dustin doesn't want to take that fight for a reasonable amount of money. Okay, you can say that. That's because that's your opinion of reasonable. But you can't sit there and say, I don't want to fight.
Yeah.
That's my job.
Yep. I agree.
Do you think Dana was kind of stupid as well, though, for having a conversation about fights with his fighter through Instagram DMs? Like, do you think like that should have been reserved for a phone call. I know it's Conor McGregor, but like he kind of put himself at risk of like being, because he was in that thread, he was totally groveling to Conor as well. Like it was kind of like
hold on. What do you mean groveling? Explain that, Dave.
Like the way that Conor is like, Dana, this needs to happen. He's like, Conor, like, look, man, just like you need to understand. Like, you know, like he was like basically bowing down. Like you could tell. He's like, we really can't do the fight until July. He's like, we're July's the only date we have, and Conor's like, make it happen, Dana. It was kind of funny. But I just think like Dana kind of put himself at risk, like by doing that in a DM in the first place. Like, isn't that why he employs matchmakers?
Yeah, but I mean, like when you're dealing with guys like Conor and John Jones, they generally go directly to Dana.
Yeah,
you know, like the guys that have the big money fights, not very many people are going to deal with. You know, I think the relationship between Ali and Dana is different. Like when you're dealing with Khabib doesn't talk to Dana directly, occasionally here and there. But then guys like Conor, guys like John Jones, other guys that they're going to probably deal with Dana a little bit more hands on.
But not through DMs, man.
I know, that's a little strange. Yeah,
that'd be like me texting you through IG and saying like, "Hey, do you want me to send you some clips on here or something?"
Yeah, it's a little strange. Hey, it is what it is, man. I mean, it is what it is.
We'll see how it works out.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
if Conor gets that fight with Manny, good for him as far as a money grab, but not going to go well.
Yeah. Hey, we've got a couple of fights coming up this weekend. So you got Holly Holm versus Irene Aldana.
It's an interesting fight. It really is. It's, the question is now, what Holly Holm do we see? Again, a fighter getting up in age, getting towards, that has she passed the pinnacle and now everything is kind of on the downside. Yeah. Where you look at Irene Aldana, she's good. I don't know if she's good enough in the stand-up. She's a stand-up fighter. Holly presents a lot of problems based upon her movement.
Yeah.
And it takes someone with a lot of power to take a lot of that movement and make her pay once they can get in to range that they can launch on her, make her pay for all that movement. I don't know if Irene is that person. She's good. She's tough, but it'll be interesting fight. And it's an interesting matchup. And the thing that I've seen from Holly is evolving even at this point in her career, where I've seen she's a lot more apt to go for a takedown, make someone think that she's trying to do things, take the fight to the ground, work on, her opponent. That might be a good game plan against Aldana.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I felt like, who was it that she fought? I want to say it was Cyborg. Maybe it was. Anyways, Holly Holm fight, I think Cyborg.
Yeah,
and she was able to clinch her, press her to the fence, and I was like, "Wow, you're doing a fucking phenomenal job of this." That's when I started noticing her progression and what she had been doing. And I mean, I would like to see her fight for the title again. I don't know where she's at as far as getting back to that. I mean, outside of Holly, Jermaine Dermottomy is really the only people I think they're gonna have stand a chance against Amanda Nunes. I mean, there's gonna be Holly, and Holly, she showed the last time they fought didn't go her way at all. There wasn't a second of that fight I felt like she was winning, So that's. But I'm just saying in terms of skill level, I put Holly up there, but then Jermaine would be the next one. We'll see how the Juliana Pena thing comes out with her and Jermaine fighting the same card, and we'll see how that fight turns out. I would imagine that's a number one contender spot to see who fights Amanda Nunes again. Possibly. I don't know. Holly's obviously up there at the top as well with Aldana, so maybe the winner of those two fights ends up fighting each other to see who fights Amanda, but then you're getting rid of another one of your number one contenders if they lose. It's so around, but you can't keep. Holly's got to get up to the top. She's 38 years old. She's got to get there in the next year. She looks great. She always has good footwork. Her skills are getting better every single time.
But you saw her in that last fight she had against Raquel Pennington, who she fought in her debut in the UFC. Mm-hmm. And you saw how she fought her differently. She pushed her against the cage and just ground on her. She's a different fighter now, different age, different time. She might go back to some of that type of skill sets to make it to where she's not getting hit like she did against Amanda. And
38
all those
years old
shots
and shredded.
out, dude. She's in shape.
Just shredded. I'm like, ooh, damn.
And you look at her, all the fights she's even had as a boxer and stuff. So she's had a
Yeah.
long career.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I want to see the Jermaine Deuteronomy fight and Juliana Pena fight. I want to see that fight, see where that comes out, see which one looks more dominant. Aldana might look phenomenal as well. If she can get inside that boxing range and land some heavy hands, you know, she might be able to do well. But she got to stay outside the kicking range, though. She got to be. Is she either going to be all the way out or all the way in that boxing range? She can't.
Is it Juliana fighting Jermaine?
Yes.
Wow, you talk about a contrast because Jermaine's going to if that thing stays on the feet, Juliana is in trouble. And you know that Juliana, if she gets Jermaine to the ground, Juliana on top is a beast.
Yeah,
she is heavy on top. You watch the fights, the ladies do not get out from being underneath her, So
I didn't see her last fight when she came back. I don't know. Is she the same fighter? Because she had left. She's not with the guys over there in Spokane, Washington, anymore. She's training somewhere else now. And I haven't seen her really fight since she had her baby. So I don't know. Should be good. I mean, this is a big task, and Jermaine's been looking good. She looks good. She's getting better at defending the takedown, just not enough to stop the takedown against Amanda Nunes. So if she can stop Juliana's takedown, she's got a good chance of winning that fight.
Don't know if she can stop it.
I don't know if she can either. It's a tough go. Tough go, though. I'm excited. Then there's a couple other guys on the card as well, but Court McGee is fighting Carlos Condit. Little throwback fight for everybody at home.
That's a good fight.
Should be fun.
Court, you look at Court's story and everything that he's gone through in his life, and he just keeps on plugging away. And then, Carlos... The one part that's sad for me in this is here's Carlos against Court, two guys I really like, and they're down where in the card? Where are they fighting in that thing? Are they even on the main card?
They're 1, 2, 3,
they're going to probably be like the
main event. They're the main event on the prelims, probably. Yeah. Or they might be the opening fight. It may shuffle around too. You never know. Fights have been falling off. Fights have been falling off. That's for Bellator, same shit, right? Fights fall off every time we get there. Like, oh shit, we lost 2 fights. What happened? Well, so-and-so wasn't feeling well.
This thing called COVID.
Yeah, something. All right, Bellator show. Look.
Paul Daley against Derrick Anderson. I cannot wait for that fight.
Yeah, I'm not going to say shit because I said the Fabian Edwards fight and Van Steen's fight could potentially be fight of the year. And I was fucking way off. It just wasn't it.
It all comes down to this. Everyone knows what Paul Daley does.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. This is a guy with over, 40 wins. He's probably got like 42 wins, something like that. 33 knockouts.
41 wins, 17 losses, and 2 no contest.
Yeah, 33 knockouts in those 41 wins.
Oh, yeah. Josh, your memory is good though.
So 41 wins. I thought he had 42 wins. I actually did, but he's got 33 knockouts there. So it's pretty simple. You know what he's going to do. But Derrick Anderson, he had a couple of fights, 2 fights against Patricky Pitbull. And in both of them stood there and they just slugged it out. And you're thinking, what are you doing? But he's that guy that will do that. And he can be so much better. And he's got a good ground game and he can be a slick fighter, but he gets drawn into brawls and he sets his feet and just starts throwing. And I think that's what we're going to see happen. So someone's going to go to sleep in that fight.
Yeah. He just doesn't fight smart.
No, not at all. But I got to admit, I enjoy out of watching his fights because, man, he's got some barn burner fights.
Yeah.
You go, the fight IQ has gone out the window.
He was always that guy, though, at 155. I was like, how in the hell do you make weight?
He's huge.
He's enormous. And then when he goes up to 70, I'm like, all right, this is more like it. And he's a big guy. He's got a big body frame. His shoulders are real wide. And I'm thinking to myself, every time I would see him, like, God, there's no way you make 155. So now he's at 170. But my thing with him is it's always going to be, I think this thing with him is he's very inconsistent on when he fights because he's dealing with injuries all the time. So I don't know what he does that always gets him hurt, but he's always got, he's always got some reason why he's pulling out of a fight because of some sort of injury. If he could just stay healthy, I believe for a while it was his hands. He was like breaking his hands, or his hands were always messed up, and he always had some sort of injury. But I mean, he's fun to watch. So if you guys are going to tune in at home, I'm going to tell you right now, it should be. I'm not going to jinx it and say it's going to be fight of the year candidate, but it will be a fun fight. It will definitely be a fun fight, and Paul is going to bring it to him, and Derrick, showing his lack of fight IQ, will stand in the middle of the cage, I think, and brawl with him.
Slug it out with him.
Brawl with them. So it should be for a fun fight. Who else is on that card? Oh, so for me, Norbert Novenyi, he's young. What is he, 20 years old? He might be 21
20
now,
years old.
He's 20 years old. His dad was Romanian or Bulgarian?
His dad is
Bulgarian. Hungarian. Sorry, my bad. Sorry, my apologies.
And was he was an Olympic gold medalist in
Greco-Roman wrestling. Greco-Roman wrestling. He's got a little bit of that, but he's got a very MVP style stand-up, but fast, long.
But man, he's good on the ground.
He's good on the ground as well. He fought Will Fleury, and just, I mean, the fight could have been stopped several times, at multiple times. I called that fight. It was in Dublin, Ireland. And I was thinking to myself, at any moment, ref, you can stop this and no one would say a damn thing. It was a one-sided beating for a 20-year-old man to look the way he did. I was very impressed with his performance. I didn't know what to expect because I had seen some of his highlights. I had never seen him fully fight. But when I called that fight, I was like, who is this kid? Phenomenal young kid, very, very, I don't want to say arrogant, but very confident.
He's confident. He's not arrogant.
No, he's not arrogant. He's just very confident in his skills.
He's kind of like all London shoot fighters. It's a good camp.
Yeah.
The guys coming out of that camp, they're good. They're good everywhere. They get trained well. They're always in shape. And that's just a good camp. That's where he's out of. And he's looking good. He had that one fight. I want to say it was his second pro fight where he actually fought. He was sick as a dog and tried to get rid of his opponent real fast and gassed, just gassed, and had to make it through the whole fight. He won the fight, no doubt. Yeah. But you look and you go, oh, you learned a lesson in that one. But he's a young stud. He's going to be really good.
So because when I talk about, I feel confident in the young talent that Bellator has. He's one of the guys I'm speaking about.
Oh, yeah.
I'm speaking about him, Aiden Lee, like Akon Wanless. Like, these are guys and the people that Alfie Davis, people that I feel like I have confidence in the fact that they may not become world champion, but I feel like they're going to make sure that they're headlining cards, or they're at least in that talk of title contention at some point in their career. I think the future will be bright for those guys as they get older.
Yeah,
just my
no doubt
personal.
About it. They're fun to watch.
Yeah, fun to watch.
Yeah.
Who else? Brian Moore, always fun, always entertaining. Dealing with a ton of injuries as well.
In fact, Blade was the one. But he's off.
Oh, he fell off the card.
Yeah, that fight fell. So Brian, the Pike Man Moore, will be moving up into the main card, from what I've been told. So that's a good. He's fun to watch. He goes after it. Yes. He gave AJ Mcgee a hell of a fight in Ireland. AJ learned a big lesson off of that one. Don't sit there and think that you're just going to dominate people. Yeah. There's someone out there that will whip your ass. Brian Moore's tough dude.
Yeah, he is. He's very tough. He's dealt with a bunch of injuries as well. Always his hands.
Yep.
His hands are always broken every single time. So he has a hard time getting through a fight without some sort of injury or in training as well. I mean, I was excited for the Elias Blade fight because I had said this a while back. I said, to me, I feel like he's probably the best, or he's in that talk of being one of the best stand-up guys in the game, period. I mean, he's phenomenal on the feet. Now his jiu-jitsu is obviously left to be desired. There's a lot of work.
Supposedly he's gotten a lot better.
Yeah,
talking to people over there at SBG, because that's where he's been working out.
Well, in his last fight, he had a couple takedowns, was able to pass guard, was able to get some activity going on the ground. I mean, I'm ready to say he's going to be a jiu-jitsu black belt, but it was nice to see him make some transitions into that, knowing that he could have just kept it on the feet the whole time.
He's been kickboxing since he was 5 years old.
It's crazy.
He's good.
He's so good. Throwing like 7-8 punch combination, kick punch combination. I was like, wow. So, I mean, for the longest time, they had a hard time finding guys that would fight him because he was so good on the feet. Nobody wanted to fight him.
It's kind of happened again.
Yeah, we're getting there. All right, Dave. Since it's my fault that we ended up having to do the show a day late, we're actually going to take one or two fan questions. Why don't you give me a fan question?
Owe the fans.
I owe the fans. I owe you guys.
Okay, got it.
Well, interestingly enough, then I have one for you. Since Big John did all the fan questions last time, Michael Sullivan wants to ask you: did the first fight versus Gilbert and the third fight versus Gilbert feel extremely different since they had since you spent so much time in the cage together? What changes for the fighter in a rematch trilogy situations, and then does it make it easier or harder mentally going into fight someone you've already faced before?
There's a lot of avenues on that to answer that though, but Big John, you and I, we've talked about this a bunch of times, is that everything was different. Not one thing was the same from the first fight to the middle fight to the last fight. And I gotta tip my hat because I think CBS did a really cool thing on our trilogy, Gilbert and my trilogy, where Luke Thomas had talked over it, and they had talked but they broke it down exactly how my thought process was. The first fight, it was one-sided. It was all me. I think one judge even had it like 50-44 or 50-45, anyway, something like that. But it was very one-sided for me. The second fight, I felt it was one-sided for him, even though it was a good scrap.
No, it wasn't one-sided. But it was a good fight.
It was a good fight, but I'm saying
I was there. I don't know if you were, but I was.
There was moments I don't recall. But it was a good fight. The third fight, though, I felt like we both knew what was at stake because it was the third fight. And we had a very different approach on that fight, whether it was training. But however, the fight was a very skilled, very methodically placed out shots. Everything was was taken. I had it down to a T on how I was going to beat him and how I was going to do it. And I mean, I came up short in that third fight, but it was one of those fights that I felt like I should have won. You know, the second fight, I didn't think I won, you know, and I didn't win. But the third fight, I was like, I felt like there was no way I was going to lose that fight. I came into it a week before I had tore my PCL in the back of my knee in sparring. I was sparring with Gray Maynard. It was my actual last sparring session. Sorry, my second to last sparring session. It was the Wednesday before. And 9 days out, I couldn't walk, couldn't check kicks, couldn't do anything. And he must have heard about it because I remember front row Brian, and I still to this day get a little irritated when I bring it up. You know, someone from the gym, from our gym, from AKA, leaked it to him. And his fucking ass posted it. And I knew right off the bat that Gil had knew about it because he fucking came out kicking. Right away, he came out kicking towards the legs. Gil never kicked. I mean, like, he threw him in there every once in a while after a combination or whatever, but he just came out throwing 4 or 5 kicks in a row. I'm like, you son of a bitch. You know, but it changed the way I approached the fight. After that, I came out. If you look at the way the fights were fought, the first fight, I came out, I let him put the pressure on me and defend his takedowns. My game plan was to make him realize he couldn't take me down like he used to when we used to train years before that together. The second fight, I wanted to get into his face and I wanted to grill after him. I wanted to see if I could break him. I wanted to see if mentally I could break him because I didn't break him in the first fight, but I had made him realize that I wasn't going anywhere and I had conditioning to go the full 5 rounds. I wanted to see if I could potentially break him in the second fight, and it didn't work. It didn't break him, you know? And then the third fight, I said, okay, well, we tried the first 2. One was successful, one wasn't. Let's just stand right here in the middle. And I didn't have the mobility to do what I could have done, what I felt like I could have done because my knee was messed up. So if you watch that fight, I actually came out and stood right in the center of the cage and didn't really do a whole lot of movement. There was not. I just stood there and I realized I could push kick, inside leg kick, and box mainly. And hopefully he would overcommit on something. I could get easy takedowns. But it really just came down to every fight was different. Training for it was different. Everything that I did, I just realized I had to be more fine-tuned and be very precise in what I was doing because he was good, man. You know, the two of us made each other, I think, better and throughout our careers.
Don't you think that it's the natural progression though? Because when you have a rematch, one of you lost, and that person's got to figure out, okay, where did I make the mistakes? What can I do that's going to create situations for me to take advantage of in this fight that I didn't do in my first fight? And I think that's what Gil did in the second fight is he was always there. As you pushed, he pushed back. When you threw, he threw back. And he was never going to be that guy that was not responding to whatever you did in the fight. He was always going to give you a response, which he didn't do in the first fight. Yeah. He started to accept more. So it was that never go away without responding. And then you took, and then in the third fight, you changed things up based upon what happened in the second fight. And that just shows intelligence as the fighter, intelligence as the trainer and the training group. Hey, we've got to change this now that he has altered what he's doing. So
yeah, in the first fight, it was tons of kicks to the body, which depleted his energy, his ability to like walk forward. I did a ton of push kicks and a lot of body kicks, to deliver. So all of that. But then the second fight, he made it sure that he had worked on catching kicks. Everything he did was he was catching. Every time I kicked to the body, he caught it and countered right off the bat. So I wasn't able to actually put things together. I would always kick to the body in the first fight, come back with hands. Well, that was taken away once he caught the kick. So there was a lot of adjustments he had made, and I thought, it was one of those scenarios where we made each other better, I think, throughout our career, and I was pretty happy, even though it didn't end up in the way that I wanted it to, or me winning the third fight. But I look back and I'm like, it is what it is, and I enjoyed every second of it.
Pretty impressive. You guys went 15 rounds.
It's crazy.
15 rounds. You guys could not finish each other.
Yeah.
Okay. And really, it was, when you look at the way it was, the first one went to you, the second one, and the third one was a split decision.
Yeah.
So close fights.
It makes me wonder, had I won that one, would I have gotten the title shot when I first came in? It makes me wonder.
Maybe.
Huh. Yeah.
Never
it
know.
is. All right, guys. Hey, I want to thank you guys so much for watching the show. Follow us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all the platforms. And thanks, guys. Sorry we were a day late. I owed you guys that fan question. Thank you.
There you go.